just something I've noticed with really accomplished or really successful people is that you will find that they do a lot of things for free. If I serve people really well, if it's freemium, if it's free but it's excellent, then that's going to pay off down the road. Real estate professionals, welcome back to the RMG Agent Podcast. I am Reed Moore, your host. As always, I'm here to impact and empower and encourage you in your real estate career. One of the ways that we do that on this podcast is giving you great content. The other one is to give you great tools. And one of the great tools that we love is Area Pro. Go to areapro.com/RMG. This will blow your mind when it comes to giving you incredible market knowledge, marketing pieces, and even education on what really matters when it comes to the real estate market. So for today's episode, as always, to help me along the way is your trusted guide, Jake Bartlett.
Hey guys, just like Reed said, Area Pro is amazing. We did a demonstration episode all on it. Check that out. And check out our last episode, which was Unstuck Yourself, the Anatomy of Change.
Yes.
So, we have a great episode today, which is freemium, the
Freemium.
power of giving away your best. And yes, Reed made up another word, freemium.
Yeah, I love it. I probably didn't make it up. I found it along the way, so I was like, oh, that's pretty great.
I'm giving you credit for it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, tell me about what the third reason. We're going to go backwards. What's the third reason, second reason, first reason, but the third reason somebody should give away their best for free?
Yeah, so one of the things that's interesting is, we did an episode many episodes ago about, really honing your craft, or else you're going to have to work for free. And this is about real estate agents fundamentally becoming the trusted guide, becoming professionals, and being able to deliver that at a high level to their clients. But this is kind of a little bit of a fun take, and it's just something I've noticed with really accomplished or really successful people is that you will find that they do a lot of things for free. And that is, a lot of times they will give their time away to their church or to Rotary or to community council or just all kinds of different things for free. And if you watch when they do that, they don't do it begrudgingly. They actually give their very best. And when you see people who are maybe not doing well in their success journey, you see a fundamental mindset, and that is they want to be paid for everything. And it's really an interesting thing. Over the years, I've heard people say things like, well, I would do that if they would pay me. But the reality is there's a really stark contrast between people who are highly successful and those who are not. And a lot of it is the willingness to do things that are tied to your growth and your advancement for free, as opposed to trying to demand payment for something that maybe you're not worth yet. If that makes sense.
So this would be like speaking at a conference where you're not paid.
Yeah, it would be speaking at a conference, teaching classes, sometimes new business ventures. I've had many new business ventures, some that worked out really well, some that never panned out. And one of them, I worked for free for about 7 years. And, I was able to do that because what I had mastered and what I was doing at a high level already paid me very well. And so I was able to take this new endeavor on and work for free for a long period of time. And ultimately, it didn't work out. But what ends up happening over the course of time is if you embrace this idea of who you need to grow into becoming, a lot of times is going to result in you making the choice to work for free in order to be able to build the different things that need to get there. I think it will serve you really well.
Yeah. So and a couple of things that come out of that is that you build and develop relationships with people. And you build trust with those that now can look at you as a business leader or something. And you do it ultimately without the thought process of like, hey, I have to do this to get something out of it today.
Yeah, that's right. So we kind of do this like a 3-2, like a top 3 list, like a Johnny Carson or a Jay Leno. So the number 3 reason that we think that it is valuable to embrace this idea of leaning into hard work that you don't get paid for is that a lot of the things that we want to do in our future are tied to them being experienced. And what I mean by that is that you can tell somebody, hey, trust me, or hey, let me go do this thing. But until you have a long track record, the reality is that going out and doing your very best work for free, it develops relationships. You are out serving your community, you're out serving people, and they have this relationship with you now that is not a contractual one first, and it's not something that they're paying for. You're literally there just showing up and doing your very best. And as a result, they start to feel a certain way about you, which is true. And that is that you genuinely care. Because like you said, if you go out and you start working for free and serving for free and doing things for free, and you're doing it ultimately to get something in the end, you don't do it, you don't get the most out of it, and you don't always give your heart and soul into it, which means that the relationships don't develop. The other element of that is building trust. If I go out and I'm, let's say I'm going out and I'm teaching classes and I'm coaching and I'm serving on community boards and I'm giving it my best, and I become somebody, hey, they know that guy, we can trust him. Like, we can trust him to do what he says. We can trust him to go and figure it out. We can trust him to show up like he was being compensated. That deepens the relationship and the trust, and that is a phenomenal foundation for whatever you want to do next, adding on to your real estate professional career.
So one of the things that we came to the conclusion when we were building this episode or talking about it is that a lot of this developing relationships and trust comes down to the word validity.
Yes.
So what do you think of when you think of validity?
Yeah, so if you want to get paid for something, whether that's a new business or teaching, coaching, training, those kind of things, you have to be able to be valid in the eyes of the people that you're going to present to or you're going to serve. And that comes through a couple things. One is a lot of validity comes through relationships. Right? So this reinforces the reason to go out and do things for free, because you start building a large base of people who know you, like you, and trust you, just like they do in your real estate career. And if I build those relationships, then people are going to vouch for you because they have already experienced you. And then the second piece of that, of building validity, is not just the relationships, but it's your track record. And your track record is, even without somebody personally vouching for me, which is still the most important thing, people can go back and they can see this person has done these things. They're telling me they can do this, and here's this track record to verify it. So we're always looking for establishing validity when it comes to the next things that we're looking to do in our career.
Nice. Yeah, and you've seen this show up, I'm sure, a ton of times in both ways, like gaining coaching clients from relationships you've already had, or speaking in a situation where somebody hears you and they trust you and now they become a coaching client.
Yeah, so it really does come down to people being able to experience you. And so people are able to experience you directly, or they're able to experience you through the experiences of somebody else. I have friends that if they go out and they do research and I want to go buy something that they've already researched, I just call them and ask them what they bought, because I already know that they did everything. They're completely valid. They're more valid than I am as a researcher, and there's a lot of confidence there, and there's a lot of trust that's built.
Nice. Okay, so countdown from 3 to 1. Number two. What we are talking about careers, right?
Yes.
A lot of what we talk about is careers. So what's the second point to this is developing long-term thinking and opportunities.
Yes.
What do you think? Where does this align for you?
So I just think that if you look at the patterns that you see in accomplished or successful people, you will see a different way that they make decisions. They're making decisions with a longer and longer and longer term play in mind. And it's the same conversation we have with an agent, is that don't think a year, think a career. It's the same idea. So it's like, okay, well, how do you develop that? Do you just take that mantra? Well, yeah, that's probably healthy. But how you develop it is if you do things that don't pay you now, but pay off even in a variety of ways, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I'll give you a good example. There's myself and another business partner that I have, and both of us do investing. And when we, in the past, have approached hard money lenders who are really good guys, people like that look you in the eye, give you a handshake, what happens is both of us have this 20 plus year career where we have a reputation for doing the right thing, honoring our word, paying our debt, all of that stuff. And so that's something that the person who's really frustrated, that's trying to do this right away, doesn't have and maybe doesn't understand, is that there's a period of time in your life for a lot of different things that require long-term thinking and long-term building. And you can make really poor decisions in the short term. So one of the ways that, working for free helps with this is that it delays gratification. So many of the things that we do in real estate help us build and develop great lives because they delay gratification. But this is another one. And that is, if I have a big vision for my life, a big vision for my real estate business, a big vision of how to continue to serve and grow other people, now I start to engage things that are not going to pay now. But I know if I serve people really well, if it's freemium, if it's free but it's excellent, then that's going to pay off down the road. And if I do that, that also develops opportunities, because again, it goes back to the relationships. If I am showing myself as somebody who can be known and trusted for a prolonged period of time, the opportunities that are going to be in my lap versus the person who didn't choose to go down this road are going to be substantially bigger. And they have.
Yeah. So I look at this as, the old adages of, it's chess, not checkers. It's 4D chess or 3D chess, right? Like, you're starting to play this game that's outside of somebody that thinks very short term of like tomorrow. What am I going to do tomorrow? It's what am I doing tomorrow that's going to pay off in 10 years?
Yeah. And some of this really even just comes back to a core belief about work, which we've talked about before. And that is, one of the things that we teach in our household is we have set accounts up for our kids, and our kids have been paid by the family. I wouldn't call it an allowance because we don't do it quite that way, but our kids actually have pay that comes from our family company to their companies. And we want to do that to be able to teach them financial stewardship, and we want them to be able to have a good runway for doing that. And we do it for a variety of other reasons, like taxes and things like that. But when it comes to household chores, we don't pay for those things. And the decision we made as a family was, we don't want our kids to think of work equals pay. We want them to have an understanding of work, that work in and of itself is virtuous. Work in and of itself is us creating value in the world and serving other people. And there's not always a dollar attached to that. And so when our kids are doing the dishes, and when our kids are doing certain things, they're doing that because they're a part of the family. So if we look at this and we say, if I'm somebody who wants to create value in the world, I'm going to go out sometimes and do that for free. One is just because in and of itself, that's virtuous. But the second piece of that is money is not the only way we get paid, right? My kids have worked for very, very little money as they were building skill sets. And the reality is that, if my daughter goes to work for the family business with her brothers and they make $15 an hour because they've been mowing lawns for 3 or 4 years and this is her first year on the job, the first year she did it, she made $5 an hour, right? And the reality is she probably wasn't worth much more than $5 an hour. But the second year, she got paid what they did. Yep. Because she showed up, worked, learned the skills, and now was actually of value when it comes to the exchange of her time for money in that business.
Yeah, it makes me think of this story of the furnace repair guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Where he comes up, they can't figure out how to fix this thing. He comes in and whacks one spot with a hammer and charges them $1,000. And they're like, "What? You were here for 2 seconds, right?" I was here for 2 seconds, but I had years and years and years and years of experience. How much time did he spend thinking about the long-term plan and giving away things for free?
Yeah.
Such that ultimately he was able to get paid for it in the end.
Absolutely. And so this is something that it's just a way to think like, hey, if you think your success journey is tied to you getting top dollar with everything you ever do, I would say think again, because there's a lot of things that you're just flat out not worth top dollar out. There's things that I'm not worth top dollar out that I'm now pursuing, and some of those things are free.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, and our number one most important point of this, and I think we both, as we were talking about it, we may have had the order flipped and came to the conclusion that this was the one and most important thing of the three.
Yes.
So what is it?
It's personal growth and generosity. you are, Jake Incorporated. I am Reed Incorporated is one way of thinking of this. When we look at the way that we show up in the world, we are the most important and valuable asset that we have is us. And the way that we go out and we grow and we learn a lot of times is tied to free work. And even if you think about it, not even as work, but I will go out and I will pay somebody else to go to a conference. I will pay for a book. So I'm actually paying to learn and grow. So the cost of growing through free work is actually not that high. Right? Because I'm not having to pay a check. Although, like, there's been times where people have paid checks to have the honor of doing something for free. Right? That absolutely is something that can happen. There was a guy in Unreasonable Hospitality that they talked about that he stroked a check to go out on mercy ships to be able to go serve, because they're like, look, we're out here doing medical stuff. You have you have nothing there, and so you can come with us, but you got to write a check. I don't know if it was from the book or from a podcast, but that's a real thing that happens. Right? So our personal growth is absolutely tied to this idea. And the second thing is, have you ever met somebody who was truly, deeply, wonderfully successful and was also deeply generous?
Yeah.
I know lots of people like that. And there is something about having a generous spirit. There's something about when you meet people who have a lot or have built a lot, and at the root of it, they are very, very, very generous. That is incredibly life-giving, right? Incredibly attractive. Well, how do you do that? You give away your time, right? You give away your money for sure, but you also give away your time. And so this is one of the powerful ways that I think that you can grow as a person and also build just a generous mindset and a generous spirit. And when you look at this life as this is not just about what I'm doing, but who I'm becoming, I think that that's a fantastic foundation.
Yeah, it for sure is. That was from a podcast. The story about the mercy ships was
Craig
from,
Rochelle.
Yeah, from that, which I recommend wholeheartedly that you go listen to it, because that guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And the way he turned his life around, and I can't think of his name right now, but it was an amazing story. And it definitely made me want to be more generous with my time and my treasures and my talents. Also, you mentioned Unreasonable Hospitality. I recommend that book wholeheartedly as well.
Absolutely.
And so I will give some of the stories of things that I have over the years been pulled aside by individual agents or small team leaders and asked questions that I could have turned them away and been like, no, I don't have the time for this, right? Like, because we're all busy, we have time, our time is precious. And through those times where I helped somebody out or helped them think differently or asked them questions, not only did I grow as a person and I grew generously by giving away my time, but a lot of times I got gold out of it that I didn't even realize was there, right? Sometimes you have to do things that don't pay you to form the pathways in your brain of this is actually who I am.
Yes. It's so great. I was at a conference a couple months ago, and one of the individuals there, he was at a real estate brokerage, and he's an asset manager now, and he's multi gazillionaire, and he just said when he first started and he started getting pretty good, the leader just said, hey, just so you know, you're gonna start teaching classes here, and you're gonna teach them for free. And he was all bent out of shape, and then he was just like, all right, fine, and he started doing it, and he started realizing it wasn't for the brokerage, it was for him that person decided to do that, and that was actually the launch of his career and his career trajectory.
Yeah, they say if you want to get really good at something, teach it.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So, and then the other aspect of this is, we're both believers, and we go to the same church. We're going through a generosity initiative that has all of this built into it, all three of these, right? Like, we're trying to build a big church and we need a massive amount of money, and that all came from developing relationships and trust, which is our third point. Developing long-term thinking of like, hey, we're going to be giving away a whole bunch that's going to pay off hopefully at some point. We believe in that, and it is growing us both as people, and it's growing our generosity, which is pretty amazing. Yeah,
it's just all super, super great stuff. And so there are a couple caveats to all of this, right? And that is that this has to be kind of looked at through this lens of you do need to pay attention to understanding and being confident and humble in your value, because there is a time with a lot of this that you do need to start being able to charge for what you're doing. And there's some people will work for free for far too long, and they need to charge, and it's because there's a maybe an internal, like, I don't know if I'm valuable enough for this, right? And here's the thing, is that the marketplace will give you kickback as to whether or not you're valuable. So there's a second piece of this, and that is, do you have the right audience? Because there are certain groups of people that you will be around, and they have, whatever value it is that you're looking to deliver, they don't want to pay for it. And it's not a direct reflection of your value, it's a direct reflection of their value of whatever this medium is, right? And so you do have to pay attention that when you go out and work for free, you're doing it to grow yourself, you're doing it to deepen your relationships, you're doing it to change yourself from short-term thinking to long-term thinking. But there is a point, if you have a vision for starting this new business or doing whatever that thing is in the future, that when you get to a point that you have built the competence to be able to be paid for it, that you have to be willing to ask for it, and you have to be clear that the target audience sees the value in what you're doing.
Yeah. And I'll reiterate that I've taught first-time homebuyer classes for like 14 plus years, and I've taught a bunch of brand new agent classes.
Yeah.
And the classes are very similar, but they're targeted to the right audience, right?
Sure.
Like, I'm teaching them the process, and I'm teaching them, the steps and the structure. But to an agent, I'm going to be talking about lead generation and all that stuff. And to the client or potential client or the person in a first-time homebuyer class, I'm going to be talking to them about loan programs and all of that stuff. It's a very similar class, but targeted to a specific audience.
Yeah. So all of this to say is, we want people who are listening to this to be encouraged to go work hard towards their future. And if you're scared of teaching, you're scared of any of those kind of things, or you're scared to step into this new layer of your business, right? And you might be scared because nobody's going to pay you for it yet. We just want you to do it. Right? Like, go do it, and be okay with working for free, knowing that that's not the only kind of compensation there is, and get that growth under your belt.
Yeah, I would like you to take that if you're not getting paid, and that's the reason why you're choosing not to do something that's going to ultimately grow you in all these different areas, that you're not only not getting paid, but you're actually stealing from yourself later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, love it.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you found this as valuable as I did. As always, we are here to impact, empower, and encourage you in all things you do and in your real estate business.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. Take care.